Hi everyone, it's me, the Kadoozie, and here we are for another episode of the Kadoozie Kast. And today, I have the pleasure of sitting with Mr. Harvey Leeds. That would be Harvey for all the people who don't understand the Boston accent. He's a big music guy. Hi, Harvey. What
up, Costello?
I love all the people I get on the Kadoozie Kast because they're wacky. All right, so you know that I just talk to people about being people, right? That's usually what we do here at the Kadoozie Kast.
Yes, and you know what I say.
What do you say?
People who need people are the lucky. I can't sing, that's why I'm in the music business.
Guys, it's so funny. I was just going to sit here and think, wow, this is the first time that anybody's ever sung. And you know what's interesting about that?
You're going to tell me Chrissy Poland didn't sing?
No.
And man, can she sing.
She has a great voice. Yes, she does. But wait a minute. You stepped on your own compliment. I was just going to say how nice that was that you would just, that moment of you just singing. And I find a lot of people do that and then they say, I can't sing.
Well, you know what? You can fool some of the people some of the time and you can fool most of the people most of the time.
Well, this isn't American Idol. This is just me and you sitting in an office.
That's true.
I was enjoying it. I'm no musical expert. I don't know anything about all those ranges and pitches and all that. I'm just enjoying the spontaneity.
Thank you.
Now we'll have to wait to see if you feel spontaneous again.
Yes, I'll be very spontaneous.
All right, so Harvey, I want to start from the beginning. I always like to see where people come from and then how they become who they are. I'm fascinated with it. So you were born where?
I was born in Brooklyn.
Oh, you were?
I was born in Brooklyn, but I don't really remember it because I lived there for 9 months. Then Mommy and Daddy moved out to those vanilla suburbs in Bergenfield, New Jersey, the home of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Frankie Valli wasn't from Bergenfield, but Bob Gaudio, the guy who wrote and played the organ on all the Four Seasons hits, was in Bergenfield. So I grew up in Bergenfield, New Jersey, 07621.
Oh, I always say that when I say I grew up in Dorchester, Boston, Massachusetts, 02125.
Yeah.
I like it. Give you zip code.
So I grew up in New Jersey, and New York was our playground. We played hooky from school. You came into New York, you took the bus into Manhattan. My father was a florist, so I am truly a flower child.
All right, wait a minute. First of all, would it be okay to assume that you're Jewish?
What makes you think what makes you think that?
Because I just watched you on the phone doing all your business.
But it's funny.
And I don't mean to stereotype.
I never met a guy named Harvey. However, I once met a girl named Harvey. I said, how mean were your parents? My parents were mean. But a girl named Harvey? I mean, she goes, my father always wanted a boy. And I've also met African Americans, black people down in the South named Harvey, which always struck me as men.
Well, there's another.
And let me tell you, do you know how hard it was growing up being Harvey? Because when I was growing up, there was an Alpo dog food commercial, and the big boxer came running around the corner on TV, and he said, and the woman said, "Children," the mother, "come quick! Harvey's eating his dog food." So here you are in 4th grade. The commercials all over television, because at that time there was, 3 TV stations? And it was like, "Children, come quick, Harvey's eating his dog food." I was like, oy vey. Right? Like that. You think it was easy? And then there was, of course, the famous Honeymooners episode. My friend Harvey, when you see my friend Harvey's going to beat you up. Because remember Ralph?
Yeah.
There was the episode, My Friend Harvey.
But yes.
It was tough being a Harvey.
It was?
It was tough.
But wait, okay, so you were born in what part?
Brooklyn.
No, born in Brooklyn, then what part of New Jersey?
Bergenfield, New Jersey.
Bergenfield, okay. And where'd you go to school? Did you go to a public school? Or?
I went to a public school. I went to George Washington Grammar School. Then I went to Roy W. Brown Junior High School. And then I went to, I don't know what it was called, the high school.
You don't remember?
And then I went to Syracuse University, and then I went off in life and into the music business. For 35 years, I worked at Sony Music, which before Sony Music was CBS Records.
All right, but we're going to get to that, but I'd like to find out how you ended up there. So you get made fun of. How many people in your family?
There's me, my bro, mommy, and daddy.
Okay, so
and Colonel The Basset Hound.
Oh, yeah, the dog named Colonel.
Yeah.
Good thing they didn't name the dog Harvey. Well, I guess
That's
it would have
true.
been better if they did.
Yes.
Would have been like a miracle if it came on
Yes.
the commercial and the dog's name was Harvey. All right, who's the oldest? You or him? You or your brother? What's your brother's name?
Bro, Steve. It depends.
Oh, he got the good name.
Yeah, he got a normal name. We lie to everybody because everybody sees us and they say, "Who's older?" It's the first thing people say. "Oh, I know your brother. Yeah, who's older?" And I always lie and go, "We're twins." Really? But he's my older brother.
Oh, so it's a compliment to him.
Probably because I have gray hair, he has jet black hair, and I guess I must be more mature. But you know, you're only young once, but you can be immature forever.
Yes, I guess you can. All right, so grammar school. So your brother's. Did you say younger than you? Why am I so?
No, he's older.
I took my allergy
Right.
pills today.
Correct.
A little ditzy. All right, so he's older. You're younger. You look older. I mean.
Thank you.
No, you said that.
Yes.
You said because you have gray hair. All right, so what does he do for a living? Can we say?
Steve Leeds works at Sirius XM Radio. He's the Senior VP of Talent Artist Relations. So he's the welcome mat to all the artists that come up there and they say, "Oh, hi, I made a record," or "What channel should I be on?" Or "Hi, I'm Chubby Checker, I'm the Pope, I'm Danger Muffin, I'm Dave Matthews. What should we do here?" "Oh, we should have the Bruce Springsteen channel. No, we should have the Who channel." And he deals with all the artists and record companies and managers and Ganefs.
So does he structure the whole thing? Does he like plan what stations are on there, or he just
No,
guides
he just is the music industry doormat.
liaison? Let's
Yes.
call him a liaison. He's
Liaison.
a liaison between. See, do you know I knew that word?
Correctamundo.
He's the liaison between the talent and the
Yes.
serious, right?
Yes,
It's not the welcome mat.
he is.
So you guys are both in music.
We're
All right, so
both.
I got to find out how. So your dad was a florist. First of all, that's a big deal. That I guess, yeah, in Boston, I had a guy friend who told me he's like a secret, like his biggest secret in his entire life.
Was what, to be a florist?
No, he was secretly arranging flowers downstairs in his basement. He couldn't do it upstairs.
Well, my father's 91 years old and he still arranges flowers.
But he could do it out in public in New Jersey, right?
He did it out in public.
No, in Boston,
My,
this
my
guy.
father was out a long time ago.
He was no, he's not gay.
No, he's not.
He was just out doing.
He was out, you know, hanging out, reading. He's very comfortable with reading books that a lot of women read. He has a sensitive side. So he was just the barefoot hippie that loved hanging out with women and talking what they talked.
All right, so he had a sensitive side, but you've mentioned a few minutes ago that they were mean.
Who was mean?
You said your parents were mean.
My parents weren't mean. I didn't say that.
Yes, you did. Just like you
did?
just. You're so funny. You told me that the phones here don't
Well,
work.
no, they were mean to call me Harvey. I mean,
Oh, mean to call you Harvey.
yeah, I mean,
Okay,
no, they
okay.
weren't mean at all. They were loving parents. They're just like,
Well, I'm glad we clarified that
Hey.
because you did say that.
oh, well, I didn't mean that they were mean. They were not mean at all.
I found that weird. See my investigative reporting
Yes.
skills.
No,
I was like, hold on, hold the
The
phone.
only thing mean about them is back in 1953 when I was born to call a little boy Harvey.
Well, good thing you're not from Boston because we'd be calling you Harvey.
Harvey.
Harvey. Now, okay, so was your dad's name Harvey? Who were you named after?
It's a good question. I don't have a clue.
You never
Probably
asked?
an H. Probably in the Jewish religion H. So I was probably named after Harris. I think.
And it has to be in the Jewish religion. They have to be dead.
Correct.
That's funny. Why is that?
Because Jews are funny. I don't know why.
Well, it's so. I mean, in the Catholic religion,
Why?
you don't have to be. You can still be alive. Like you can be named after your father that's still alive. But to have a junior, the senior has to be dead.
I believe that you are correct.
How do I know all this? See how much I've broadened
Because
my
underneath
horizons?
all that, you are a Jew.
Underneath all what? Can I tell you? I just went to pick up my bracelet at the jeweler, and the guy.
Was Jewish.
Yes, but he had a yarmulke on, and he was like literally like lusting, like crazy lusting, asking me about my hair.
Right. Blonde. He was like, "Are you really blonde?"
Yes,
He didn't mean he can't see the roots.
but he's not supposed to ask that.
He's guess what? He will be davening this weekend. He will be asking for forgiveness.
He offered me a cup of whiskey.
I'm not going there.
This is what I get.
I ain't going there, honey.
This is what I get every day. A cup of whiskey. All right, so when did the music start? Did your dad listen to music? How did it happen? What went on? I want to know.
No, my parents were musical midgets, but I loved rock and roll. And really what I wanted to be well, let me go back. Growing up, I had one of the biggest record collections. Why? Because I was a children's entertainer. I used to do magic shows for kids' birthday parties.
Okay, when did that start?
Probably when I was like 10 years old. And so back in 1965, I made $20 a half hour. And I would do every Saturday 2 magic shows. So I made $40 every Saturday afternoon from the time I was probably 10, 11 years old until I went away to college. So back then, what was hourly wage was $1.25. But if I made $40 between noon and 5 on a Saturday, I was rich. And my parents loved me because I had $40. I'd put $20 in my golden nest egg account in the bank. Oh, what a good little Jewish boy. He's putting his money away. Now I had $20. So what did you do? I loved music, so I'd buy records, and albums were $2.99. I bought them in E.J. Corvettes, 11 Jewish Korean veterans. That's what it stood for. There was a department store here in New York City. So I had the biggest record collection of all my friends. There was the new Who album, the new Traffic album, before that, the new Herman's Hermits album, the new Beatles album, the new Rolling Stones record, Freddie and the Dreamers, Jerry and the Pacemakers, the first album, and the first woman that was like, oh, man, look at her, Dusty Springfield.
Oh, I was just listening to her
I
this
love
morning.
Dusty. That was the
That's
first.
crazy you just said
the
that.
first album I bought was Dusty Springfield. I lusted for Dusty.
Preacher Man. I was listening to it
But no,
this
but this
morning.
album, before that was made in Memphis, I Only Want to Be With You, was like, Dusty, I only want to be with you. It isn't what you think. And I was like, oh,
I only want to
so
be
I had,
with you.
I
thought that was the Bay City Rollers. Did they redo
They had
it?
it, yes. See, you're so young. You kids today. You think the song's by the Bay City Rollers. It was
No.
Dusty Springfield. But yes, the Bay City Rollers did
They
it.
redid it.
Yes, nauseous, gag me with a spoon. But yes,
How did you feel about the Bay City Rollers?
vomit. SATURDAY. Another Saturday.
To the rock and roll,
Right.
a Saturday night.
Right.
I think my dad used to listen to that, and I would listen.
Ugh.
Right? I don't think I
Ugh.
was. You didn't like it?
No.
Isn't that
So,
weird?
I had the biggest record collection. So then Lafayette Radio sold this little thing, little box, and you could make your voice come out of the radio. So I had my little microphone and be like, hey, it's K Harvey, it's W Harvey, and now we're going to listen to the entire Monkees album, uninterrupted from beginning to end. So I was the first commercial-free radio station, and it went from my backyard to my front yard to my neighbor's house. Big-ass radio station. So I like talking into the microphone. Oh, hearing your voice, this is great. I wanted to be a disc jockey. So I went to Utica College for a semester because I said, man, if I can't get on the radio in Utica, New York, I suck. So I got on the radio there, and I worked at a radio station that was owned by the Reverend Brinsfield, and the Brinsfield sold to the Bunkfelds. And their station was owned by Reverend Brinsfield, and they put Scotch tape over the song Sympathy for the Devil, because you can't play that song about the devil on this radio station. But we were a rock station. So I loved doing radio. Then I transferred to Syracuse University. When I transferred to Syracuse, it was like I was still doing radio. And one night, I was smoking some weed, and I was on the air, and I lost my train of thought as I was talking a record up. And I was watching the needles on the board bounce as you talk. You know, the VU meters. I was like, hey, this is pretty cool, man. Look at these things that if I go A, boom, and I start talking radio. So the program director called up and said, or as they would say, he hotlined me. It's like, what are you talking about? You get paid to play records. I was like, hey man, it's cool. I could talk, and I'm watching the VU meter.
Wait a minute, what does hotline do you mean?
Hotline means there was always a phone line in a radio station, a telephone. So if you did something bad, it was called the hotline. The boss would call you up, like, you're fired, or like, hey, it's not, the Rolling Stooges, it's the Rolling Stones, idiot.
So you were high playing with this thing, and they called you and told you to stop it.
Yeah, so I was like, wow, I like talking on the radio. I can say that I was fired from every radio station in Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Utica, Albany, Binghamton, Ithaca, because I like to talk on the radio. For example, I was once on the radio and was like, WOLF, and that's how the Turtles, happy together. I was like, the Turtles, happy together? Flo and Eddie wouldn't play the White House ever again. They played for Nixon, and they put acid in the punch. And the guy said, you're fired. You can't talk like that on the radio. I was like, but that's really what happened. He goes, yeah, but you're supposed to go, WOLF. I was like, oh, okay. And then I was doing FM radio. But I always liked talking. And it's very funny because then when I graduated college and I was driving through Hartford, Connecticut, working radio stations to play my records.
After you got fired by all these...
Well, now I was graduated college,
okay.
But I'm in Hartford, and I hear this guy Howard Stern on WCCC,
I was going to say,
and I go, wow, this guy, he gets to talk on the radio. I want to talk on the radio, but I wasn't willing to move to like Wyoming for $90 a week to go do all night radio. I realized that the record business was like, oh, you can make more money doing this and run around, but you can still be sort of around radio. But it didn't satisfy my urge to talk. But so instead of talking...
I hope I'm satisfying that urge now.
Honey, you are satisfying every urge. Because if these people haven't seen Sue Costello, man, they don't know what they're missing. But so I wanted to be on the radio, but I wanted to also make money. So I was like, I liked being around music. So then when I was a college rep at Syracuse for CBS Records, and that meant you worked the newspaper, you worked the college concert board, you corrupted the whole marketplace. You were a promotion person, you were a salesperson. And then when I graduated college in 1975, I went to work full-time for CBS Records.
Okay, before you keep going with that, I have to ask you, because I'm still caught on how you became a children's entertainer at 10. How did that actually happen?
My father had a flower shop at 1203 Lexington Avenue in New York on 82nd Street. And so one day we made up business cards, Magic by Harvey Leeds, with my phone number on it. And then I put a little sign in my father's window of his store, of the flower shop. And it said, magician for hire for children's birthday parties. But I had never done, I didn't know what the hell to do.
I was going to say, did you practice
I had no clue.
magic tricks?
Well, I did. I practiced magic tricks, but I never did a show for kids.
There you go. That's what I was looking for the scene.
The phone rang. How much will he charge? So I was like, $20. I'm like 10 years old. I don't know. It was like, $20. I was like, that's a lot of money. Oh, yeah, but I do a great show for 30 minutes. So I started doing kids' magic shows. And so then but I couldn't afford a rabbit, and I couldn't afford, doves and birds. So I had hamsters and guinea pigs.
Hilarious.
Oh, I'll tell you stories about it. You want to hear hilarious?
Yes.
Oh, okay, here. So one day I would end the show with I would make the guinea pig, who was white, and he'd appear out of this empty box. So I pull him out, and he's dead.
Oh, in front of the kids?
And I would then put the guinea pig on a table, and then they get to pet him and hey, but he's dead. So I put him on the table, and I'm shaking the table, like making this dead thing wiggle. It's like, hey, and everyone's like, can I pet him? Oh no, he's sleeping. You'll look at him, and then I'm jiggling this thing. I'm like, oh my God, my guinea pig died, while I'm doing this live show. Another time, so then I used to make, magicians would make birds appear in little pans from fire. I'd make hamsters appear. So I would go do the show, and the hamsters would appear. So one day, one of the hamsters, I had two hamsters, Peach and Bubala. That's where their names.
Bubala is a Jewish.
That's a hamster.
It's a Jewish.
It's a hamster. It's a hamster.
Bubala is a
hamster.
But it's a term of endearment too, right? Bubala.
So I had Peach and I had Bubala.
Okay.
So Bubala dies during the show.
What were you doing with them? Keeping them in your backpack or something?
So I'm like, oh my God, I got to get rid of this dead hamster. So I'm in this house on Park Avenue, this apartment. I don't know what, I'm 13 years old. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I take Bubala and I flush him down the toilet. And it was in this person's apartment on Park Avenue. And it's one of those toilets that's kind of like those, they kind of be in grammar school.
Yeah, right.
So I flushed this hamster down the toilet at this birthday party. And the toilet starts overflowing.
Oh, no.
But I'm like the magician guy. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I stuffed up this person. I had to get a plumber. And the plumber's like, what's stuck down there? The guy, I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, he pulls out this dead furry ball. And I was like, oh.
Did they know it was you?
Of course they knew it was me. I said, free show. You got the show for free. Lady, the show's for free.
But first of all...
How about another time, I'm doing a birthday party. I can tell you, that's the story. And they have the decorations and all the paper stuff hanging, all over the walls. And I had this thing where I would make a ball of fire appear from my hand. Well, the thing jumps, it was a little thing of paper with gunpowder in it. For whatever reason, when I clicked the little switch, the flame would usually be in my hand, but for some reason the paper and the gunpowder flew up in the air, gets the crepe paper in this person's house. I'm at this kid's birthday party. That all of a sudden the paper and all the shit in the ceiling is on fire. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, hey, I was Harvey the Great. Harvey the Great. Hey, I come in, I flush hamsters down your toilet, and I set fires on your house.
Did you charge him for the fire party?
Of course I did.
You did? All right.
Because it wasn't too bad. We just stopped.
Just a little singe.
Yeah.
Now, that's what I find. So I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm like, okay, so you're promoting yourself, kind of bullshitting it along the way. You didn't really know what you were capable of.
I had no clue.
And look they bought it. They gave you $20. Like, that literally is what goes on in show business years later with music, promoting. Sometimes you have to sling the shit to be able to get... It's not always like you winging a prayer sometimes. So you literally got that kind of experience back then.
Yes.
Little did you know.
Correct.
And you went off the path a little bit when you tried to do the radio because you like to hear your voice.
I love radio.
I love radio too. I
love
the
talk.
isolation of it.
Love it. I always want, it's funny, as you get older, old people always have the radio blasting loud, talk radio. Maybe they knew something that we don't know, because as music gets shittier and shittier, and everybody has their own little private radio station on their phone, it's like I find myself gravitating, not just because of Howard Stern forever and ever, but I love listening to real good talk radio. Mm-hmm. If it's fascinating and interesting, which I found when I wanted to exercise on an exercise bike. It's like, I can't listen to music exercising. So my wife said, you should listen to podcasts. And I was like, yeah, I should listen to podcasts. And that got me interested.
Well, there's a reason why the podcast is so successful, because everything is being broken down to its barest, like simplistic one iota of what
No, there's only one reason.
Why?
Because Sue Costello does a podcast.
Oh, that's why you listen?
Absolutely.
Do you think I just fell off the turnip truck?
Yeah.
No, but I think that having the human conversation is what people are
Absolutely.
dying for. Because otherwise, why would there be success in the podcast? They want to hear people talk and have a conversation and engage instead of just...
Yeah, like Alec Baldwin was the first podcast, I think, that I really got intrigued by because he was interviewing Dick Cavett. I was like,
oh, yeah.
Wow, this is cool.
Yeah. And then just having a conversation about life and what it's like to be them. And
yes.
Because you don't get that even on the talk shows, on the TV talk shows, you don't get it because they have a specific... It's all set up. They have the pre-interview.
Which is why Howard Stern was always successful, because he just... he started with his stupid stuff like, hey, show me this, show me that, take off your clothes, oh my God, all the sex, how many times you do this, how many times you do that. But then when you really listen to when he really wanted to do a really great interview and be smart, boom, nobody better.
Well, and he also gets people to tell him stuff that's...
They don't tell anybody, not even their significant other.
I'd like to see what I would do with him.
Yeah.
I'll be on this.
We're going to get you on there.
I've tried a million times. Will keeps saying, oh, I don't know. I'm like, I'll be on there.
You will.
I would
Guarantee
like me. I bet you he would like me, too, because he's into the human psyche and the whole...
Yes,
also, I'm kind of likable. No. You didn't agree with me.
I did. No, I did.
No, that's good for my ego.
No, it's a podcast. I shook my head yes. Anyone that's listening, and I don't know if they're, I shook my head yes. I didn't shake it.
It's good for my ego.
I went north and south. I didn't go east and west.
Leave me hanging like that. It's good for me. Keep me in check.
Okay.
All right. So I want to hear. Okay. So now, college. You're out of college. You get hired by CBS Music. It's CBS Records. So it's owned by CBS Station, which is there's still only a few stations at the time. Was there cable? No.
Correct. No. It was only a few stations at a time.
So CBS owning the record company was pretty big because they had probably the exclusive. Were there other companies? Was there like?
No. Well, there was Warner Brothers, and there was, there were Capitol Records, the Beatles, but yes, they were CBS was the biggest and the best.
And you got hired to do what?
So I graduated college in 1975, and I was an advertising psych major. So I put on a little suit.
That's interesting.
Put on my little suit, and I went to Madison Avenue and was like, hi, I want to be in the advertising business. Show us your portfolio. My what?
You should have pulled out a hamster.
My portfolio. So I showed them some ads that I had done for a pepper spray company. Women, you too can now ejaculate all over a man. Try pepper spray, guaranteed to protect you when you're by yourself.
And they didn't hire you, huh?
They didn't hire me. No, I didn't hire me. So I got the job. The guy said, this is disgusting. I go, oh no, this would be great in National Lampoon. This is a real product. This is how they should advertise it. And then I had my, my Dole banana commercial. It was like, I had like 12 things you can do with a Dole banana besides put it in your pants. And they were like, you can't, well, these aren't advertised. No, this would be great in Rolling Stone. This would be great in National Lampoon. You guys don't understand how you need to be talking to people about their shit the right way. Okay, Madison Avenue didn't like me. So, but while I was happening, I went and became the East Coast college rep. So I never had to grow up. So here I was making $15 a week and $25 a week expense account to be in charge of Syracuse University.
Okay.
As a college rep. Now they paid me $10,300 to be in charge of the East Coast. So I had people like me in Syracuse at Boston University, Brown University, Hartford, Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Ithaca, Allentown, Georgetown, NYU, New York, Rutgers, and was like, wow, this is cool. So it was like, oh, now I'm the camp counselor for all these other kids.
But this was under the CBS label.
Yeah, so now I was like full-time babysitter for college reps. Fantastic job.
Because CBS wants the music to get the music to the college kids. Is that
absolutely?
Yeah. Because they're the ones that spend.
So then I did that for a year, and then they were like, Harvey, FM radio is here to stay. Really? I know. Yeah. Well, disc jockeys can play whatever they want. So now you get an unlimited expense account. You take the morning guy out, the midday guy out, the afternoon. Your job is to go get all these disc jockeys to play our music. Oh, that's great, man. This is fantastic. I became known as Fat Boy and the Lunchtime Kid. It was like, this is great. I can have 5 lunches. I love this. I love food. This is fantastic. So I would take out, hey, will you play the new, Kansas album, the new Ted Nugent album? And one of the first big records I ever had was Meatloaf, Bad Out of Hell. It took me like 2 years. And actually, where you're from, I'll never forget, I was laying with 104 fever, and I'd been working the record for a year. It was like the longest time to get that record going because nobody wanted to play a 9-minute song called Bad Out of Hell, produced by Todd Rundgren, by a fat guy that was singing opera, Broadway music, whatever they called it. And WCOZ in Boston and WBCN. When I remember calling them like, hey, I've been telling you to play this record. It's exploding in Cleveland. It's exploding in New York. It's huge. The phones go crazy when you play this song, Bad Out of Hell. And WCOZ and WBCN, and besides, would I be calling you with 104 fever if I'm right? And I got them both. They had this record at the same day, and then the Meatloaf record took off, and then when Meatloaf, the record sold millions. I was living in a little apartment on 68th Street. Meat said, Harvey, what could I do for you? I said, I want your apartment, because he had a little 1-bedroom on 25 West 74th Street. He said, you could take the lease of my apartment. I was like, oh man, I'm paying $260 a month. How much is it? He said, $340. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I could afford that, $340 a month for that apartment. But
was his records before Bad Out of Hell? Was he making a lot of money or?
No,
okay.
He was moving down to Connecticut. So, and I'll never forget when I moved into that apartment, there was a Meatloaf album. The apartment was empty, freshly painted, and there was an album in the corner, the Meatloaf album, and it said, Harvey, rock and roll dreams do come true. Love, Meat. I was like, wow, I had my own apartment right off of, Central Park, around the corner from the Dakota where John Lennon lived. Ooh, and I can tell you that story about eating dinner across the street the night he got shot. And I was like, wow, look what I got, this killer apartment, because I helped Meatloaf make his rock and roll dream come true. Now he's making my rock and roll dream come true.
Do you still have that?
That album? Absolutely.
All right, so I want to hear the story about when you were sitting across and eating dinner.
So I had a very good friend named John McGann, who became one of my closest friends. I met him he was a program director up in Buffalo. And then he started Rolling Stone Productions, audio productions. He started NBC The Source, which was a news network. He started Ted Turner's video channel. Guy was a media wizard. So John and I are eating in Hisai's, which was like one of the first early, like, hey, you can get a whole fish and asparagus with blue cheese. Nice restaurant, Madame Hisai. Right across the street from the Dakota. And I lived on 74th Street, and John lived on 74th Street.
John, the other guy, not John.
John McGann. John Lennon lived around the corner from us. So, hey, we were hanging out with John. So we're eating dinner. Dessert comes. We hear gunshots. I said, what's that? And the waitress says, oh, that's just a car backfiring. Well, she didn't say it like that. She said it with a very Chinese accent. So we finish our meal. We go across. We come out, and there's like an ambulance pulling away, and there's like 50 people in front of the Dakota. I walk across the street to see what's going on, and a car pulls up with Gilda Radner and G.E. Smith in it because they were married and lived in the Dakota. And the doorman says, as Gilda gets out of the car, Miss Radner, please get into the house quickly. Mr. Lennon's been shot.
You heard this.
That's how I knew John Lennon was shot. And I look on the sidewalk, and it's bloody, and his glasses are laying there amongst the blood. And I'm like, whoa. So John, who was a news reporter for The Source, we run around the corner to our apartments, and we get our little big boom boxes, and we're doing news reports from the street. And we take over, wasn't cell phones at the time, we take over the phone booth on the corner on the south west corner of 72nd Street in Central Park, and we're doing news reports. This is Harvey Leeds reporting for The Source. I was like, wow, I'm living my voice dream. Hey, this is, and I was like, okay. And they're like, and we were calling into NBC, The Source radio. Like, you have to do a report to Germany. I was like, hello, Germany. This is Harvey Leeds on the corner of 72nd Street across the street from the Dakota. John Lennon has been shot. There's now 150 people in front, blah, blah, blah. Well, when I went to sleep later that night, about 5 a.m., I remember laying in bed around the corner from the Dakota, and the tree and the shadow is on the wall of my apartment like a monster movie, and the window's open, and I'm laying there with my blanket, and I can see my breath because I like sleeping with the window open, and I could hear people chanting from around the corner. Thousands of people now, because people started coming there like a memorial, singing "Give Peace a Chance," and I was like, whoa, it was so cosmic. And I'll never forget that day. And John Lennon always was my favorite Beatle. And it was like, I wasn't happy that I was there, but I was glad that I was there at that moment. As negative and shitty a time was that some asshole shot John Lennon, but it was like, it's just that one of those magical times in your life.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because you went right into like reporter mode. And at what point did you realize that you were sad or you weren't sad?
We were very sad. We were crying. It was like, can you believe this happened? I mean, it was like some asshole shot John Lennon.
I mean, that's as simple as it is, too.
Yeah, he shot the guy who spoke for our generation and was a Beatle and wrote the greatest songs.
And he just shot him.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, he's up for parole. Yeah, fuck him. Rot, motherfucker.
How do you feel about that, Harvey?
Rot, motherfucker.
It's terrible.
It's the worst.
When somebody can be doing such good and then all of a sudden, boom.
Can you imagine what John Lennon music he'd still be making?
Because he was just authentically talented, right?
God.
And he didn't care about... He wasn't like swayed so much. He had his own... I always feel like the best artists are people who have like a sense of... Who was the guy that was just in your office that I was talking to? We were talking about that.
Mason Munoz.
What does he do, a manager?
He's a manager. He comes from the record business too.
Yeah, he was dropping some big names.
His father was Scott Muni, who was one of the biggest... He started FM freeform radio in New York City.
Oh, wow.
His father has since passed away, but his father, very famous... You know, he had John Lennon on the air with him. He had Elton John on the air with him. He was on the radio in New York for years and years and years. And he was started as a top 40 jock. And then people would know who Scott Muni is because it was Scott Muni, WNEW FM, New York.
You know, that's weird you just said that because I used to go out with Greg Fitzsimmons, with Bob Fitzsimmons, when he was alive.
Uh-huh.
And he worked at NEW. Do you remember him?
Yes.
He had that voice.
Scott Muni, Things from England. My guest today is Sue Costello, and we're talking all things John Lennon. And Scott, we all lived for Scott. In fact, a Dog Day Afternoon, about the bank robber, Scott was the guy in the bank only wanted to talk to Scott Muni, and so he was the guy on the radio station that Scott...
that was the name that Pacino said?
Yeah, he stopped... He stopped people from jumping off the George Washington Bridge. I'm going to kill myself unless I can talk to Scott Muni. It's like he was the guy. The first time you heard, you know.
But isn't that interesting? You said unless he talks to the guy on the radio, and we had talked about that emotional connection that people are starting to yearn for again in the podcast.
Right.
He stopped people from killing.
And every time it rained, Scott Muni would play on his radio show, "Riders on the Storm," or he would start off every Tuesday afternoon, but the Moody Blues, Tuesday afternoon. And then he would end his show every night with this song by Bob Lynn called "Elusive Butterfly." You might wake up some morning to the sound of something moving past your window in the mirror. Don't be concerned, it's only me just doing something I'm not sure of. I chase the bright elusive butterfly of love. You don't know the song.
No, but I got you to sing again.
Bob Lind.
No, and I was thinking how music and radio, how much it affects people and those memories. Like on Kiss 108 in Boston every Saturday.
Maddie in the morning.
I don't know if it was Maddie on Saturdays, but every Saturday at noon.
Sonny Joe White.
Oh yeah, they would play. What would they play?
I don't know what they.
Oh my gosh, my allergy medicine is making me forget. What would they play?
I used to know everybody. I mean, one of my closest buddies on the radio is up there is Oedipus.
Oh, who's Oedipus? I don't know if I know Oedipus.
Oedipus was on WBCN. He was the program director. Then you had Dwayne Glasscock.
Oh, that's a good name.
He did the mornings, but it was what the hell was his name? And then you had Mark Parento, and you had Max Sand. Mm-hmm. My good friend Max Sand, who I've lost track of.
Wishing on a Star. Wishing on a Star. Sorry, I had to think of that. Okay. I would be disowned from Boston if I didn't remember that.
Wishing on a Star?
Yeah, at 12 o'clock every Saturday. I'm wishing on a star.
Who did that?
You want me singing? To follow where you are. I don't know.
Oh, Boston radio was great. Loved Boston.
All the radio back then was good,
It's
right?
fantastic. Then you had a radio station up in Boston, WCAS, which was an AM folky station, and an old friend of mine who I taught how to do radio was a woman up that way, Lisa Carlin. She was on COZ and BCN and WCAS.
Now, was that a big deal back then to have a woman?
Yeah, everybody wanted to be Allison Steele, who was the New York disc jockey, and Max Sand was one of the first, women on the radio also.
Okay, so you were the big fat cat, taking everybody out to lunch, trying to get them to get on the...
Yeah.
And you got the Meatloaf Bat Out of Hell up in Boston.
Right.
And then...
Worked the Boston album, More Than a Feeling.
You did?
The easiest record I ever worked. You walked in the radio station, I want to play this song, More Than a Feeling. No matter where you went, boom, I'm playing it. I'm adding it. It's burnt, I went to WORC in Worcester, Massachusetts. Honest Dick Smith, first guy to play the Beatles in America. Mm-hmm. Worcester. I walked in.
Really?
Hi, Dick. Hi. I want to play the new song. It's a 45 by Boston called More Than a Feeling. Puts it on. He goes, come here. We walk down the hallway at WORC in Worcester, and he says to the disc jockey, take that record off the air.
Oh.
What? No, what? Take it off the air. Interrupt it. We bring you this special bulletin, a new band called Boston from Boston. Did I just spit on you?
No,
You're getting goosebumps.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Play Boston by Boston, More Than a Feeling. And he played it like 5 times in a row. Honest Dick Smith, WORC.
I wonder if that's still a radio station in Worcester.
No idea.
In Worcester, right?
In Worcester.
Worcester's spelled the same as Dorchester, but it's said differently.
Instead of a D.
But it's called Worcester.
Worcester.
And it's called Dorchester.
Yes.
We're crazy up there.
Yes.
So what did you do after you were the fat cat running around?
So then I was the FM radio specialist, and then I became the national radio specialist. FM.
So did you have to go to everybody and do that?
Well, I was east of Mississippi, and then there was somebody who did west of the Mississippi.
So you had a lot of power.
We had a lot of territory. I don't know if we had power. We had territory.
You did, because you were the one who would decide if I had a record and you were going to... Did you do it with all the CBS records, or...?
No, just I was at Epic Records.
You moved from CBS to Epic?
Well, CBS was the umbrella, and it owned Columbia Records and Epic Records.
Okay. So you were always at Epic?
Oh, well, except for the first year when I did college promotion, I worked Columbia and Epic Records and worked the third Bruce Springsteen record, Born to Run, because the first 2 we worked in college.
Now there's a performer.
It's one of the greats.
Because he gives so much, I think.
He's the best.
But is
great
that why?
Songwriter, great performer, cares for his audience. He's the bestest.
It really is true, isn't it?
Yes.
That's what. Tell me the guy in the office's name again.
Mason Munoz.
That's what we were talking about. He was telling me about a lot of times he teaches people just to be nice to people, and they don't always listen.
Right.
And I really believe it is the truth. It takes you a long way. You don't have to let people walk all over you, but it's nice to be nice. Don't you agree, though? How do you get business done? Are you nice?
It's so nice to be... How do I get business done?
Yeah.
Well, when that dog grabs onto your pants and he won't let go.
Yeah.
If you believe and you want it, you don't let go.
And that's how you stayed were you at Sony for 25 years, did you say?
No, 35 years.
35?
Yeah. Last man standing from the original regime of people that loved music until the clowns came in.
Is that what happened?
Yeah, it's a circus now.
Why? What makes it a circus?
Just people that are passing through. We were lifers. We were a family. We were a group of people that loved what we did for 35, 45 years.
And then what happened? People started retiring? What happened?
People died, schmoes, schmucks. People left. They started firing people. Oh, you're 55 years old. You should retire. Let's get rid of all the old people. This is young people's business, you know. Oh, yeah, really? Uh-huh.
And how's Sony doing now?
They're doing okay, but because they brought in Doug Morris from Universal, from Atlantic Records, but it's not the same. It's a very different company.
And people get, spun through the wash much quicker nowadays, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They eat them up and spit them out.
They do, and they don't make the music like they used to.
No, come on. It's you know, I don't know whether it's because as you get older, you're like, hey, when I was growing up, the music was fantastic. Frank Sinatra, he could sing. The Beatles, what do they do? Look at them. They need a bath and a haircut. What is that? And I think every generation thinks hey, Eminem is, he's more important than John Lennon. Oh, really?
Who says that?
Because I'm sure this is a generation, they just think, look, why do the Allman Brothers and Beatle music and the Rolling Stones and Pink Floyd music and the greats are the greats.
And they still sustain.
The greats
withstand
are the greats.
The test of time. Which brings me to you, because you retired?
I retired 4 years.
One of the greats that withstanding.
I retired. I got off the Titanic,
time.
known as Sony Music. I saw it sinking. I had to get out of there. I didn't like talking to stupid people that I didn't respect anymore, who I worked with. I got off, retired, got my medical benefits and whatever I got, and went home. And remind me to tell you about the retirement party.
Okay.
And went home. And I stayed in bed the first day till 9:20, and I was like, this sucks. I can't do this. And I was managing Amanda Palmer from the Dresden Dolls and Newfound Glory, and I was consulting PBS television for a crazy show called Bowfire, which is 18 world-class violinists playing everything from country music to klezmer music to classical music. And I was doing all these crazy projects, and then Live Nation came along, the New York office, and said, we want to hire you. And I said, no, I kissed enough corporate ass. I'll be a consultant. So I worked for myself. I had my own little company called Headquarters.
Oh, Headquarters, yes, but it's...
But it has its office at Live Nation in New York City.
So do you have any dealings with Live Nation?
Absolutely.
You do?
I help them get in trouble. I help them get out of trouble. We help them book shows. We help them with marketing ideas. We come up with crazy concepts. We set up wild meetings with people that they would or would not want to talk to.
You're going to help me with my comedy album.
We try to think off the screen and out of the box.
Yeah, me, my comedy album.
That's right.
You're going to help me. I think you should bring along your advertising pitch for the banana and the pecker spray.
You think I can remember that? That was back in 1972.
I remember. You just told me it. I can remember it. I love it. I think we should that should be the opening credits or the opening sequence. What was it? Pepper spray? You can ejaculate ladies.
Ladies, because they said we need to sell this pepper spray to women so they don't get mugged. So I was like, I'll never forget. They would give you 10 minutes. Okay, you 4 students go in that room and come up with an ad campaign. So I was like, ladies, you too can ejaculate all over a man. Try whatever the pepper spray company was. And they were and the teacher was like, what's wrong with you? So what's wrong with you? That's a great ad. That should be in Rolling Stone and National Lampoon and the Village Voice and the East Village Other and the Syracuse New Times and High Times. What are you doing? You guys talk the same shit. It's funny. There was a industry newspaper called Radio and Records, and all the they would advertise, play this record. It's on these 20 radio stations, and it's guaranteed to make your phones rings. And women 18 to 24 will love your. So one day somebody said, "Hey Leeds, this record's fucking great." So I took out an ad in the industry newspaper, saying, from big program director Oedipus in Boston, was, "This record's fucking great." So the newspaper said, "We can't accept that advertisement." I was like, "Well, I want to talk to the publisher." And it was an industry newspaper. And Bob Wilson, "Now, what do you want to do?" I said, one of the most well-respected program directors is saying, "This record's fucking great. That's a fantastic quote. I want that." And he goes, "You're right. We should put that in our newspaper."
But we're not going to.
He did.
Oh, he did?
And so I broke the barrier of people were then like, "This stuff is the shit, Hey, it's the she is it." But it was like, before that, it was like, "This record's fucking great." That's how people talk, isn't it?
Yes.
"Hey, Sue, could you play the Clash London Calling?" "Why?" "This record's fucking great." "Oh, really?"
Yeah, I always like when people, especially when guys, I don't know why it is when guys, but when guys say to me, "You're fucking funny," it's always better when they say that afterwards.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't have to say it all the time, but sometimes it's important, I think, to accentuate. And you know your audience, you say it when it's appropriate, but... All right, you got to tell me about the retirement party. See?
So, let's have this party, Harvey. I don't want a party. But I always had my little watering hole was a caviar bar called Caviar Roost, and I loved eating caviar. 54th and Madison Avenue. And they had a little back room that held 28 people. I said, "I want 28 people." So they had the president of the label and the president of Sony and whatever. So I invited the mailroom guy. And the mailroom guy, I don't want to say he was mentally challenged.
Right.
The old days they might say he was retarded, but functioned, did his job well, but he was mentally challenged. He was fantastic. I would buy him pizza. I'd get my mail first. When the FedEx, I was always working late. The FedEx guy would come at 9 o'clock at night. I could get down there at 9:01 and he would take care of me. So at the retirement party, there's all these people that think they're cool. They're dressed nice. We're in the caviar bar, and I have Jose there, and they're like, "What's the mailroom guy doing here?" I go, "That guy's the most important guy in my life." Yeah, I got the mail first, and he got my shit in the FedEx late, and he's more important to me than any of you motherfuckers.
Did you say it? Yeah, you said
it.
You didn't care.
I don't care. Hey, see you later. See you guys later. I got to get off the ship. It's sinking.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's right, baby.
So now you're managing people. What are you doing? You're managing and consulting.
Hey, I do whatever I want.
Well, when are you going to do my comedy album? I think we should get this on record.
But you see, that's where it shouldn't be a comedy album. That's old-fashioned.
I know, because I'm outside the box anyways. Right. I got to figure out how.
We have to figure out what it is. Maybe it's a comedy, and in a bottle, and when you take the cover off, instead of there being water in there, it's like Sue Costello and they're talking to me. Hello.
Oh my God, you sound like when Sam Simon told me to do the
Sue, are you in there?
TV
Hello.
Show with the mechanical pig.
Hello. Hey, climb on that mechanical pig.
No, I have to get some of my comedy out there. I have nothing. I have no DVDs, no CDs, no.
Well,
nothing.
we got to change that.
Do you know how valuable?
Sue Costello is one of the best kept secrets. I saw her one woman show. Where the hell did I schlepped out in?
It's a creek and cave in Long Island City.
Yeah, are you still doing that one woman show?
Are you kidding me? I just did a Kickstarter. I raised $12,000. I'm doing it in LA for 4 nights.
That's fantastic.
Well, everybody helped me. But yeah, but then I don't know if I should do the show first and then I'll do the comedy album. I don't know how to set it all up, so I need help.
Well, we're going to talk.
We are?
What were we talking about, pigs? Were we talking about pigs?
We were talking about pigs, that picture that...
So last night, because I manage Marky Ramone, and we have a pasta sauce company called Marky Ramone's Brooklyn Zone, so we had a pig roast at DBGB's. There we are.
Oh, there's pigs.
Right?
He's showing me
Those
a
are
picture of pigs.
There's pigs. There's me and Marky with pigs and Andrew WK with pigs. And look at the leftover pigs.
Oh.
Look, right?
Right,
But then I
friends.
decided I'm going to do a puppet show. So I took the heads of the pigs, right? There's me with the
But
pigs.
they can't see it.
Yeah, I know.
There's
but
a
you
picture
can,
of him with the heads of the pigs.
I'm holding 2 pig heads, one in my left hand, one in my right hand, and my pig head's in the middle.
You look like you have a
and I'm
burn,
doing
too.
I'm doing a puppet show. It's like, hey pig, and then there was a store next door to
Who's that?
DBGB's.
Who's that
There was
right
a
there?
store next to DBGB's called Betty Page. Somebody's licensing Betty Page. She has a clothing store. Isn't that crazy?
Smart. She's making. Well, who's that? Who's that?
That's David Johansen.
Yes, I know him.
David,
I don't know where I've seen him.
I saw him last night after the Marky Ramone pig roast at DBGB's. We went to the cutting room on 32nd Street.
It's
And
on 32nd Street now, the cutting
Yes, it
room?
moved. And David does one of his acts he has called Buster Poindexter. And,
Oh, yeah.
And Buster
That's all I
Poindexter
know.
played last night at the cutting room.
I did stand up at the cutting room one night, and I was in the back of the room waiting to go on. It was just me standing at the bar. I walk up, they introduce me, and I get on stage, and all of a sudden, I'm not exaggerating, from the back dark part of where I just left, I hear, "I'm from fucking Rhode Island! I'm from fucking Rhode Island!" And I'm standing on stage and I'm like, oh my God, because when you're doing stand-up and somebody heckles you, they have to like you already in order to win with the heckler. Either that or they have to be sitting in front of you so you can handle them. This was just coming from the dark corner.
And who
of the
was
back.
it?
All of a sudden, so I thought, how am I going to handle this? What am I going to do? I haven't even opened my mouth yet. And the place was packed. So I said, let me bring them up so at least I can see them so I can handle them. I called them up to the front of the stage. It was like one of the big super agents from ICM.
That's the great.
She was shit-faced.
That's the great.
So every time I hear the cutting room, I just think, I'm from fucking Rhode Island. And I couldn't make fun of her because she was a huge agent, but I probably should.
I tried doing stand-up a little bit because I found Harry Anderson in
Night Court.
before Night Court. I found him as a street performer in San Francisco, where I saw Penn and Teller when they were in a little club in L.A. and I found Pee Wee Herman and brought him to New York to Caroline's many years ago. So I always wanted to do. I said I could do this because I did kids magic. So then I became the filthy magician.
Oh.
And then I was like, ooh, then I always loved Julia Childs, the character from Saturday Night Live. Ooh, and you take the fish and you put it in the blender. So then I was like, one day I was like, I'm going to do a magic show in drag. And so I have 2 characters that I do. I have Harvetta and I have Contini. And both of them are the world's filthiest, most disgusting female magicians. In fact, I don't know how blue we can get on this. So we'll get it. Okay. So one of the tricks that Harvetta does, you pick a card, she puts it back in a deck of cards, it disappears. Oh, where's it appeared? It appears between her legs, wrapped up in a Tampax.
In a pad?
In a pad that's actually a used pad.
Oh,
So,
how is that cool?
so one day I was doing it. One day I'm doing the show, and there were some comedians, and they don't know me, and I've only done it like 6 times in my life. So I do it, and then it's like, and where do you? I know where your card is. I feel it between my legs, and I know exactly where your card. And sir, you even wrote your name on that card, and I love having your card with your signature on it because you touched it with those big fat fingers between my legs. And then I lift up my dress, and I reach into my undies, and I pull out a used tampon, and rolled up in the tampon is the card with your signature. Sir, is that your signature? And there's this bloody card with a signature.
And how does it go over?
And it's like, sir, please, is that your, would you please verify that that's your card? And take it, and that card is yours as a gift. Please take that home with you. And of course they never take it because it's like, that's
Do they
disgusting.
laugh or are they horrified? That's what I really need to know. They're horrified.
They laugh. Oh no, they laugh.
Oh,
I think it's half and half. People are like howling. This is so disgusting, and the other half are like, what the fuck is that? And so the first time I did it, I come off the stage at Caroline's, and these guys go, "You can't do that." And there were like some pretty big names, which will remain nameless. And I was like, "Why not? That is so disgusting and fucked up." And I was like, "Yeah, and that means it's great, because you know what? Who wants to do the same shit and tell the fuck, you know?" I mean, the first time I saw Gilbert Gottfried on stage, it was like, "Dan Gazzari, he's," you know, it's like the guy didn't look at you.
Right.
He stared at the ground. I was like, "What the fuck is that? This guy, this is some Asperger's fucking autistic weird motherfucker staring at the ground, making crazy fucking noises." And the same show, by the way, was Larry David in his soldier's outfit, telling jokes. And then my friend goes, she goes, "He's the comedian's comedian."
Yeah.
I go, "Okay, well, Gilbert Gottfried's funny. That guy, Larry David, is like, he's the comedian's, oh, he's the thought-provoking, I'm like, yeah, well, good. He fucking put me to sleep. Meanwhile, Larry David's my fucking idol now. And then, who's the other? Oh, Stephen Wright.
Oh, hilarious.
And I was like, you know, why do you drive on a driveway and park on a parkway?
They were so much more, they were allowed to be more quiet.
Oh, my God.
And have more time on stage. The society now, like we said about the music, is that
so
more.
maybe Harvetta
Don't even say
or Contini could open up
oh
for
my
Sue
God.
Costello. But
I think he just inspired.
I'll tell you one thing. So going back to Circle, when I used to do magic shows for kids.
Yeah.
So one day I was doing a magic show at Temple for Purim, which is a Jewish holiday, you know, whatever. And there was a chimpanzee act called Mr. Jiggs. He was on TV. He was like, he was the monkey that, you know, was dressed up like a human and went around on roller skates. And at the time, the shtick that he did was he had a Polaroid camera, and Mr. Jiggs would take a picture of you, you know, whatever. So it's Harvey the Great and Mr. Jiggs. So the guy, they said, Mr. Jiggs is going to go first, and you'll go on after him. So Mr. Jiggs runs around on roller skate and takes pictures of the kids, and I come on and I do a magic show. And I sucked. Nobody cared. I was like, oh, man, you know, you're a kid, like, oh, my God, man, that was the worst. Jesus, I sucked. And Mr. Jiggs' trainer said, hey, kid, I'm going to tell you something. I said, what? And I'm standing there. It's me in a dressing room with a monkey, chimpanzee, Mr. Jiggs. And Mr. Jiggs eating a banana. Ooh, he's looking at me, and he goes, never. You want to be big in showbiz? I'm like, yeah, I want to be famous. Somebody goes, never follow an animal act. You can't. It's impossible. What you should have said is, I'll go first, let the animal go next. You can't follow an animal. Impossible.
Best advice you ever got.
And I was like, so, I can't open for you because I would do my animal act.
Oh, and then I won't be able to follow you.
You could follow me.
Wouldn't that be funny, though, if this happened on...
I'm just disgusting. I'm not...
But if, like, everybody heard it, like, I'd be like, okay, that's a great idea. And people are like, Sue, don't do it.
Yeah, well, here's a
I should tape all of my meat business.
So I became friendly with the trainer and Mr. Jiggs. I was like, this guy's the greatest. And I would go... He'd take me to, like, gigs because I was like, let me go watch. And he would love pulling up to the toll booth at the George Washington Bridge, and the monkey would hand the money to the toll taker. It would be the greatest.
Because sometimes that's all it is a bunch of monkey business. Well, thank you for sitting here and talking with me. It's quite a life you've had.
We're done already?
Thus far.
How could we talk? We couldn't talk about my life anymore.
I might have you back again so we can talk more about the music, because people love those.
We got to hang,
stuff.
Costello.
We got to hang. Let's talk about how...
Friday night we're going to hang.
All right, Friday night.
I don't know when this thing's running.
Maybe next week or the week
after.
All
right, well, Sue's coming Friday night, so by the time you hear this, she's going to be at Santos Party House with me, hanging from a trapeze, swinging with the Animal Act, while Andrew W.K. sings with Marky Ramone's Blitzkrieg, doing 30 Ramone songs in 70 minutes. We're playing Santos. Marky Ramone.
Awesome.
Brooklyn's Own, Marinara Pasta Sauce, which, by the way, this entire program is brought to you by
Right.
Marky Ramone's, Brooklyn's own.
You got to give me a couple of dollars for that, man.
Marinara pasta.
You got to make a donation.
I'll give you a couple of
I
jars.
need a couple of dollars.
I'll give you a couple of jars.
This is my second time around this party here. I need a couple of dollars. No sauce. I got enough sauce.
Sauce.
All right.
And as Marky Ramone says, the sauce is boss.
Thank you. This guy's out of his mind. I love him. Harvey Leeds, everybody. And we're over and out with the Kadoozie Kast. Bye-bye.